right, sorry. So anyway, as I was saying, so part 2 here of renting the drum kit. So let's say I get the drum kit for a year, right? Which I probably won't rent it for a year. I'll probably rent it for about 3 months. So that'd be about 120 bucks, right? So for 120 bucks, I get to learn on a beginner kit. Okay, wow, how great, right? But I'll be able to do a bunch of recordings, which, you know, through the ad revenue, it helps kind of, you know, take a long time, but it'll recoup what I paid for the rental of the kit. But when I'm done, it gives me time to start to put the other drum kit together. So even if I don't, let's say I have to rent let's say 3 months comes up and I have the, like, you know, really good pieces, like I buy a really good snare, okay? I buy a really good double bass pedal, like just, you know, second to none. You know, bang for the buck, second to none. Meaning, not just going to buy because of the name, going to buy, okay, every drummer says, you know, if you want the best pedal for the money, it's this one. You know, and it's somewhere in between the most expensive and the you know, and the intermediate. It's not the cheapest, you know. So it's going to be expensive, but it's not going to be, but it's going to be money well spent, you know. And that's what I want to do, you know. And the best is to talk to the drum tech, saying, yeah, here, because I don't have the skills to really tell the good double kick as much. Like, you know, if I have 2 good double kicks there, I won't be able to discern which one's the better of the 2. If I have a really crappy one and a really good one, yeah, you'll figure it out right away. But if I have like 2 really good ones, but one's like $200 more than the other one, well, what are you getting for that extra 200 bucks? And the guy said, well, this adjustment that you can live without. Oh, okay, well, I'll buy the cheaper one, right? And that's how I buy stuff, you know, like a lot of equipment. That's how I buy a lot of stuff. I don't just go buy name brand and stuff, because you'll just spend money that, you know, you don't need to a lot of times. So let's say 3 months comes up and I only got like the throne, the double kick pedal, and the snare. Okay, let's say I only have those 3 items. And the cymbals. We'll say the 4 items, you know, like a cymbal pack. Okay, but I got like the best cymbals, or the cymbals that I like the best. I got the snare I liked the best. You know, a really expensive snare, you know, like maybe not super duper expensive, but it's like, okay, here's a snare that's $600. Here's one that's $2,000. Play the one that's $2,000. It sounds marginally better than the one that's $600. Play the one that's $400. It sounds almost as good as the one that's $600. Right? I go for the one that's $400. You know, because I'll be able to live with it. Right? So, you know, like the $2,000 one will still sound better, but it's like that much. And that's a lot of musical instruments, is when you pay this much more, you get the violins are like that. You pay this much more, you get this much more. Drums, it's more about the hardware than the actual tones and stuff, because like a cheap drum kit can, well, with good heads on it, sound better than an expensive drum kit, like a top-end drum kit with crappy heads on it. That I know. So I do know a lot about drums, because you know, the time I spent with my drummer shopping for drums and drum hardware. So I watched him spend $100 to save 10. I'm going to buy this cheap cymbal stand, and after about 6 months of gigging, he goes back and he buys the slightly better cymbal stand, and then after 7 months of gigging, he goes buys the really good one that he now still has to this day, probably. Whereas if he would have just cut to the chase, bought the quality, buy the quality right away. So let's say 3 months go by, I've recorded everything I needed to record. It's time for the drum kit to go back, but I don't quite have the money to buy all the kit. But I've been buying pieces of it and paying it down. Okay, well, that'll put me somewhere in the summer where I'll probably be too busy to play the kit much anyway. Whatever, like right now is when I want to be recording, right? But it's hard to record right now because I'm not alone in the house, and playing drums is going to be really loud. You know, I can record the guitar almost every day, but the drums and vocals I have to wait till everybody's out of the house. My dad's out of the house, so that I can, you know, make that kind of noise, because they're driving nuts, right? So that's not a problem because I usually get a couple of opportunities per week to do this, right? So I just have to have everything ready to go. So the goal is to get all the drum tracks down for, say, maybe 15, 20. Goal would be 50 songs, but if I can get 20 songs, I can work on 20 songs throughout the year and just make them really good. But I got to do a lot of planning now, which I'm already doing. Lyrics are very easy for me, so I'm lucky that way. But 3 months goes by, I don't have all the drum kit, but I have the snare. I have, the good cymbals, and I've got that, the kick pedal, right? Okay, now I can start looking at the other hardware, okay? And, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go for a Mapex kit because they're absolutely gorgeous. And, I'd like to have a kit that when I buy it, that I'm not saying, oh, geez, I wish I would have got it in a different color. Oh, geez, I wish I would have. Like, I'm going to take my time and get what I want. So that 20 years down, on my deathbed, I'm not going to say, I regret buying the wrong drum kit. I want something that people are going to be envious of me. When I and I'll tell you why. Okay. Is I don't impulse buy anything. Anybody that's followed my channel long enough, I don't impulse. Like, I think about, an impulse buy for me means I thought about that purchase for about 3 months. That's an impulse buy for me, pretty much in anything, right? I'm very calculative with my money because I have so little of it. But Great White, the band Great White, I saw them live years and years ago. They have a new singer now, and I know actually, I think it was the drummer that died in the fire. But when I saw them, their drummer, I believe it was a set of Yamahas or Tamas. I don't remember exactly what they were. He had this drum kit, and the drum kit on its own. And again, as a guitar player, I was just in awe of this drum kit. I saw Tommy Lee's drum kit. I've seen Jonathan Mover's drum kit. That was an impressive drum kit. I don't know how many drums he had there, but you could just see the top of his head. That's all, and arms flailing. That's all you could see from. That was Joe Satriani. He's a drummer back in the 90s. I don't know who he has now, if he still has Jonathan Mover or not. But that was a hell of a drum solo. It was better than Tommy Lee's. But Tommy Lee's showmanship is yet to be matched. Tommy Lee went up, started spinning around, and he had kind of two drum kits. He did that, and halfway through the drum solo, the lights go out, and then suddenly he's above the audience spinning around. It was really, really cool. No other drummer's ever done what Tommy Lee has done. How this man is still, how the hell does he play drums upside down, spinning, and the thing is spinning and gyroing, it's wild. And how does he do it with nothing falling off the drum kit and killing anybody in the audience? I don't know. I just don't know how he did it, right? But he was pretty awesome to watch. That's showmanship. But getting back to the Great White drummer, his kit, it looked like the rack system came up over it like this, like a seashell, like a clam, right? And it was the coolest drum kit I had ever seen, the way it was set up and stuff. And it sounded great. Great White was their sound live is like glass. The two best sounding bands I've ever heard live, just for clarity, probably number one would be Pearl Jam. And I seen Pearl Jam, and Pearl Jam, whatever, there's no muddy instruments. They don't play so loud that they play loud enough for the venue, whether it's a big venue or not, but they don't play so loud that it doesn't sound good, right? Like AC/DC, I love them, but they were the loudest band I've ever heard, and they were so loud you couldn't even really hear them. You know what I mean? It was just so bloody loud. It was good, but the sound was just way too much. Way too much volume for what they had. What they were doing. But I loved it. It was a great show. I mean, they put on a good show. It was the first band I ever seen live. But getting back to the Great White drummer, I still remember his kit, and when did I see him? When I was a teenager. You know what I mean? And that kit is the drum kit that I said, if I ever have a drum kit, that's what I'd like to have. Now, mind you, that's probably like a $50,000 drum kit, custom made and all that stuff. Rockstar money. I don't have Rockstar money. I have Mr. Noodle Pack money, right? So I got to take my time with it, but I do want a kit, if you go look at the Mapex kits and compare them to the Pearls, the Tamas, the Yamahas, just look at the finishes. The one I like, there's three of them that I really like. There's one that's called the Anaconda Burst, and it's green, as you'd imagine, but looks so nice. But those are a one-off kit, and you can't add to them like floor toms or whatever. It's a 4-piece kit, and that's it. And it's a one-off. But they also have this other one. It's just like what do you call it? Kind of like a seafoam blue. It's like an aqua burst is what they're calling it. That one, I really love the look of that one. And then the second one that I really love the look. Again, these are just the ones I like the